Today, we're going to talk about economic transformation and how that's going to have a significant impact on the economy. If you look at technology, every once in a while we have these great breakthroughs. If you go back and look at Henry Ford and the Model T and how that transformed transportation in comparison to the horse and buggy, that was a huge transformation. Now we're at the point where we're using software and electrification to transform the technology sector again. And the question is what type of impact is that going to have on the economy and society, right? Well, eventually the autonomy question is going to be solved. And then once there's trust by the people, that's really going to transform the way things move around, right? So it doesn't matter from buses to massive freight movement down to, the Uber driver, right? Once autonomy gets in full maturity and trusted by the people, transportation costs are going to go way down, right? And the cost of moving freight is also going to go way down, right? Different type of vehicle, different type of maintenance profile, don't necessarily need a driver. And then they're even having technology that they're developing where the truck follows the truck, right? Very transformational. So now you got to look at the corporate sector and you got to look at the changes that are coming there. And the first thing that you see that's happening is task automation, right? Where corporations are going through the process of understanding how work is being done, and they're using software tools to automate repeatable tasks, right? These are what I refer to as the early stage of transformation. And then from there, we go into the stage of hyper transformation. And that's where artificial intelligence and machine learning gets to a high level of maturity to where it can then be implemented to replace a lot of human labor. Now, this is very serious stuff because what's happening is that there's a prediction that over 300 million people worldwide could be impacted once all this stuff gets into effect, right? So think about it. A customer service center that has 100 employees who are answering the phone. You have products like ChatGPT that can literally ingest a whole database of knowledge, right? And once text to speech gets to a level of maturity to where you really can't tell the difference, then you have software that can now replace an entire call center. You might have a few people left around, to do escalations, but it significantly reduces the footprint required to operate a call center. So that's just one example of how automation and artificial intelligence can impact the corporate sector. Now, if you want to continue down that path and you look at what's going on with robotics, that's also going to have a significant impact on the economy, whether it's from manufacturing food products to manufacturing in factories. Eventually the robots are going to come in and they're going to take over a lot of strenuous labor, right? And on top of that, they're trying to develop a low cost robot, right? And that's going to be huge, right? Because once the corporation sees that I can reduce my labor costs with a one-time investment that can be fully depreciated, that's a very strong value proposition, for a corporation to take, right? When you think about labor, most people are focused on what you get paid per hour, but there's a lot of costs on top of that to have an employee. And that's something that gets overlooked, right? Whether it's vacation time, sick time, medical benefits, retirement benefits. There's all these additional costs that actually sit on top of the costs required to pay a person hourly, right? And so if corporations now have the ability to move in a direction to where they can do a one-time cost that they can depreciate, I guarantee you they're going to be looking to do that, right? So what does that really mean, right? All this automation coming in, right? Artificial intelligence. It means that if you're going to make the investment to go to college, you really need to make sure that you are investing in your education in a way that's going to give you a good return, right? And so that means the only things that are really worth focusing on in general is STEM. Math, engineering, science, technology, the medical field, right? The other things you got to be careful because even like in advanced areas of architecture, eventually these artificial intelligence programs will be able to do a lot of that work to where the amount of bodies required for throughput is going to be minimized, right? You might have one or two people, that will double check to make sure that things are being done properly, but make no mistake, it means reduced head count. That's what it means. So a lot of these companies that have gotten bloated, they're laying off people left and right. High interest rates is playing a big part in that, but there's also this transformation that's coming that needs to be considered.
I wanted to shift gears because I have an example here to show you just how artificial intelligence and automation is going to have an impact on the corporate sector. So Goldman Sachs published a prediction not too long ago that they expect that AI could lead to some 300 million layoffs among highly paid and non-menial workers in both the United States and Europe, right? So looking at what they're seeing across the corporate landscape, they're literally seeing that 2/3 of occupations could be partially automated by AI. So we're talking about a significant impact to the economy, the global economy that is on the scale of global depression, right? If you have that many people being laid off and you don't have replacement jobs for these people, then there's going to be a large section of the economy that's out of work. And if you look at places like the United States, where the economy is 70% consumption, maybe even higher, if these people don't have money, then there's no consumption, then everything basically goes to hell, right? So this is very significant and something that we really need to pay attention to. And so trying to get this information to you before, it's too late so that you have some time to prepare for it. I think the train has already left the station, so I don't think there's any turning back. So you're just going to have to really start thinking about what you do for a living. And if you are one of those folks that could be potentially impacted by artificial intelligence, now's the time to really be thinking about plan B and what that looks like for you, right? So let's continue with this article. Now, going down and looking at these companies, right, we're going to take a look at Dropbox, because Dropbox is basically saying that they're going to lay off 16% of the company, some 500 employees, as they sought to build out their AI division, right? And this is funny how these CEOs, man, they give you the gas can drag about how you're such a valuable employee and we have a lot of work and we can't get rid of people. We don't have enough people as it is. So they tell you, oh, well, if we automate your job, we'll just shift you to do some other work because we have so much work to do. That's a load of BS, man. Don't believe it for a second. If you think about the last periods of transformation, they typically come in and have you train your replacements, right? And this is not any different. They're having you go in and automate your processes, document things, and they're implementing some forms of automation now to automate repeatable tasks, saying that, oh, well, we want you to focus on more high value work. These are kind of like the beginning stages, right? Where they're laying the foundation for artificial intelligence to come in. One of the other things that is required for this is you have to have really good data in order to have really good artificial intelligence. So I do see the field of data science as being another great field to get into that will be in high demand going forward in the future, because a lot of companies are becoming data driven. And so you'll need to have that experience in combination with being able to work with training AI models and also working with neural networks in order to be one of those valuable assets that a company wants to keep, right? So going back to what Dropbox is talking about, right? They're saying that, they said, however, our next stage of growth requires a different mix of skill sets, particularly in AI and early stage product development, right? So it's really about being able to design the requirements and the framework for which an AI model will operate in, right? And so they're looking for these kind of people that can deliver that for them, right? Because it supports companies' long-term strategic vision, right? And so you have to think about it, man. The labor cost is a huge cost, and when we had low interest rates, corporations could get away with issuing bonds in the commercial paper market to finance capital expenditures to try and deliver value, right? And that's gone because interest rates are a lot higher. It's a lot more expensive. And so corporations, are forced to tighten their belts in order to get the capital that they need to do capex in order to develop products, in order to deliver value, in order to make money and to stay open, right? So it's this delicate dance that they're always doing with making investments in order to build value and sell products or sell widgets or sell service, right? And they have to balance that with the cost to do that, right? The labor cost to do that. Now, if you look further, IBM is another company that is going in this direction very strongly, right? And so the CEO says the company expects to pause hiring and roles that it thinks could be replaced with artificial intelligence in the coming years. As a result, hiring in back office functions such as human resources will be suspended or slowed. Okay, so think about that, right? They're looking at how they can use automation and AI to replace back office functions, right? So these are people that, went to school for human resources or human capital management. They will be replaced. And the question is what are these people going to do once this goes away, right? Because it's not going to be just one company. It's going to be happening everywhere. Okay, and that's what you need to keep in mind. It's not just one place. These are just examples, right? So when we look at what IBM is doing, they said they currently employ about 260,000 workers and continue to hire for software development and customer-facing roles, right? Because they have to sell products, right? AI can't do that for them. They said finding talent is easier today than it was a year ago, right? So if you look at all the layoffs that are happening across the tech sector, you hear them in the news all the time. This company 5,000, this company 8,000, this company 7,000, this company 6,000. Amazon laying off 18,000. These are some big numbers that you're seeing happening across these companies because they got very, very bloated because they got used to cheap money, right? And so now that they have to tighten their belts, they're looking at, okay, how do I reduce my operating costs so that I can make my margins look good so that the stock goes up, right? And one of the ways that corporations do this is by getting rid of people. It's one of the biggest ways that they can reduce costs, right? Okay, so looking at this article, this is kind of reinforcing what I've been saying, all throughout this video, is that if you're going to go to school, you have to make sure that what you're going to school for is going to give you a return on your investment. You need to be going to school to work either in the technology sector or the medical sector, right? And so these are the type of things that are often confusing for young adults. They tend to, want to venture off into other fields, but with this coming, you have to be extremely careful because you could be taking on debt and going into a field that could be heavily automated in the future, and therefore the job opportunities are not there, right? And the people who will get those jobs will be senior people who have a lot of knowledge and experience, right? So it'll be tougher coming out of school. And so, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to be doing a lot of reporting on this because I think as we go into hyper transformation, it's going to happen fast. You're going to see layoffs a lot faster than what we're seeing right now. And then it's not because of what the Fed is doing, right? It's the fact that there's a huge, huge leap in technology that is literally forever transforming the way the economy operates. It's like literally going from horse and carriage to the gas-powered car. That's how big a transformation this is, and people are just not paying attention to it. So here we take a look at a lot of the fields in the economy that will be impacted by automation and artificial intelligence, right? Office and administrative support is huge, right? If you take software like ChatGPT, I think that eventually that software will be able to replace a lot of the functions that an office admin would do, right? It's pretty fascinating because if you think about Siri, right, on your iPhone, and how you can issue all kinds of commands to do certain things, and it does it for you, and it kind of interacts with you almost in a human type way, right? Well, ChatGPT will be on steroids in comparison to that, right? The capabilities will be a lot larger, right? And as it continues to get used and it matures, it's going to get better and better and better, right? Same thing with the legal field and paralegals, or when attorneys are spending hours and hours and hours and hours preparing legal briefs or preparing for a trial. Artificial intelligence can ingest case law from the beginning of time, and you can basically use the requirements of your case and allow the AI to do all the preparation for you, write all the briefs and everything for you, to where all you're doing is spending time proofreading and making sure that it's dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's for what you need for your case, right? So that's hugely transformational for the legal profession because it makes things a lot easier for attorneys. But make no mistake, there's a significant impact, right? Because you now don't require all that human labor for throughput anymore. You can actually use software to do that for you. Architecture and engineering is another one, right? Where you can give an AI platform the requirements and let it write your design documents for you, right? And it can do it pretty much flawlessly. So rather than having 3 or 4 engineers, working at a company, you might have 1 or 2, right? So, and I'm just using that as 2 examples, and this is very significant where you see clerical support, professionals, and I'm looking at the lower section here, technicians and associate professionals, managers. You look at armed force occupations. I mean, this is going to hollow out the economy if it fully takes hold. And now I kind of understand why Elon Musk was sounding the alarm about artificial intelligence, because once this takes hold and fully matures and we enter into hyper transformation, you take this along with the robots and autonomy, man, and what will people have left to do? It's like pretty crazy when you think about it. What will people have left to do? Right? So, yeah, and I don't think universal income is going to cut it in this situation. So this is something that we really need to pay attention to. So I wanted to have this as a discussion point. So please share your thoughts on the information that I'm giving you here. What do you think about artificial intelligence? What do you think about automation and how it's slowly taking over the economy? Do you think things are going to get worse, or do you think things are going to get better? I'm really curious to hear what people really think about this. So with that being said, if you like the video, please give me a like, thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you get notified when new content comes in. Also, don't forget to hit my Twitter page, because I do post tweets that have good screenshots in there to show you data, to really give you good information as to what's happening in the economy, and somewhat kind of explaining things and why they're happening. So with that being said, see you on the next video.